trail or what?
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
I think so. We all good?
Adventures.
All right, we call the meeting to order at 5:01 p.m. on May the 11th. Board is here in totem. No?
No, Eileen is.
Eileen is
Absent.
missing. That's right. She said she was going to be absent.
That's right.
So we're good there. So, moving forward.
Oops.
We have the minutes.
I move the minutes be approved as presented.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Crickets. Moving forward. Public comments.
Hi, Linda Van Haverbeek, and I want you guys to not get your monthly cheer, so yay! And the building, yay! And Mo, yay! And it'll be more yay on Monday.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right. Any more? Okay. Director's report.
So nice to have a public comment. Gosh, it's been years without public comments. So the director's report. So yes, the library continues to operate despite all the construction that is going on, and it could be hellish down there some days as far as parking. Yeah, I know it can be pretty tough. But yeah, this last month.
Well, having the public parking there behind Ermitanger helps a little.
Yeah.
But when you've got stuff going on right there in front, it's a mess.
Yeah, 6th has been pretty much, between Jefferson and John Adams, has pretty much been just out of the picture. And now it's even worse because now they're attempting to do curb work along there. So now they've got that fenced off. There's like one space on there, on the library side of the street. They've run into some tree roots, so that may slow down a bit while they figure that out. But then eventually they're just going to keep going around the corner so that the 5 spaces out front will be not be available for like a week and a half. But I don't know when that exactly is going to start at this point. But they would have to do that at some point in the project, and it's cheaper and easier for them to do it now while they're already pouring curbs and stuff. So, you know, what difference does it make, right? We're all going to be inconvenienced. And then I probably need to talk up more that there are spaces against Highcliffe, because that is, you know, like 6 of those spaces are signed for the library.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, those are really nice spaces. And then
Back behind the...
by Highcliffe's, behind the fire station.
There's a row of them, yeah.
Yeah. And then we were talking about this in the Friends meeting. The parking lot behind the church across the street from the Pioneer Center is technically a public lot. It does say Pioneer parking only, and it typically is full when they're open. But it is typically often completely empty after 4 p.m. and that's pretty early, you know. So we'll probably do more publication of that later. Right now, I don't know, like last week, was it last week? Time flies so fast. We had the librarians filming at Highcliffe, and the power outage did end up happening on the same day, which was kind of a good thing because we had the power outage, we were closed. And because the librarians were there, they were using up some of the parking, although we were able to work with Katie upstairs and through Katie with them. And all we really lost was the Highcliffe spaces, so that wasn't so bad. It's just that 6th is such a mess. And it's a mess over by Pioneer. It's just a mess everywhere right now, you know, so I just feel bad. However, our door count does not reflect that traffic is down. It's not. At least in April. And a bunch of that that was early May, probably. So our numbers in May may be a little shaky, but we'll see. So our door traffic is 99% of last year, this time last year. Our checkouts continue to be lower than this time last year. And from what I am hearing from other public libraries, they're seeing the same thing. It's kind of a trend. And what we don't know is it because, I haven't had time to put together the full picture, but is it because people are, downloading more ebooks from Amazon or places like that? Are they reading less? I just don't know. But we're kind of seeing less circulation of materials. But I got a really good question at the Friends meeting was, well, what kind of materials are you seeing less of? So I need to go back and really look at the statistics, which, I get those, so I could just need to stop and think about it a little bit more. I went to a couple conferences last month, and they were really good. I also got to be on partially trained as a logistics chief for an emergency event.
Wow.
I learned a lot, actually, but it was it was really supposed to be a day and a half training, and I only got in on the half day of the training because, it was just I had full meetings the day training was. But it was pretty interesting, actually, and that's kind of in preparation for the Cascadia thing that happens on June 8th or something, and a bunch of municipalities and state governments and stuff like that are kind of taking part in that kind of as a practice for if this really happened. But I can tell you with lots of confidence that I have now seen the movie San Andreas Fault, and I know exactly what to do.
Need to follow that up with, what is it, earthquake or?
No, Mount St. Helens, because it's now
Right.
got a lot of
Yeah, it's
stuff
bubbling. It's bubbling.
Volcano.
48
Yeah.
quakes a day.
Right.
Stay
So
tuned.
the moral of the story is you don't want to be separated from your loved ones by a bridge, so just stick with your loved ones 24/7, right? I know, that terrifies me, but anyway. So this month, I did have a new policy to bring to you regarding posting things on the community board. It should be pretty simple, but I realized that I hadn't really thoroughly checked it out, and I really wanted to see if the city already had some policies about that, which I didn't have time, and then no policies this month. Next month.
Next month.
We'll have policies. We have plenty of time for policies. Our events are still going very well. The Pints from the Past was up from 30 people to 90 people. So it just goes to show that if you make it local, they like it a lot better. The Lego Labs and the Art Labs are really, really popular. And Barrett takes pictures of the kids with their little creations, and oh man, those kids are just so excited when they get their picture taken. It's really fun to watch. We're also getting invited to do some outreach, and we got invited to attend there is a Spanish-speaking parents group that meets once a month up at Gaffney Lane. And it may just be Gaffney Lane parents, I don't know. But we got invited to attend that, and we do have 3 people who are fluent in Spanish, and one of them is primarily in the children's area. She's only part-time, but she does do the bilingual story time, and so she's going to go with our children's librarian and do most of the talking. But so I think that's pretty exciting. And then there's a couple other ones, I can't remember what they are, but so on the day that we were closed, and we found this out an hour ahead of time. We were supposed to have a story time, but that day the preschool was going to come to us, and it was the Spanish speaker just by chance, but she went to them instead, which I thought was a great solution for that day, and they were so thrilled to have the librarian come to their preschool. So that kind of stuff is a big hit. Outreach of that, it's not a lot of effort, but you do have to have the staff to be able to assign it. But it goes over really, really well. Then we've got a lot of events this month still. Ruth Warner will be here tomorrow night, and she's the person who wrote Sound of Gravel, and that is about being raised in a polygamous Mormon household, which was basically part of a cult down in Mexico. It's a fascinating story, and she more or less escaped and raised her siblings is what she did. She just sounds like an amazing woman, and she sounds so nice. And it was a really good book, kind of one of those books that you just like zoom through because you're just captivated. So she's coming tomorrow. The last Second Friday film is on Friday. Pints from the Past next Monday. The topic is the Columbia River and like 200 years of exploring the Columbia River, something like that. Brew can do it. You gotta love that title, right? It's about coffee. Yeah, about coffee. And then May 26th we'll have Sig Unander. And then summer reading starts in June, right, Linda?
Yep, 1st of June.
1st of June. And we'll have adult program just like we have had in the past, but Gina's doing it this year, so it's a little bit more extensive. She's trying to get a bunch of donated kind of raffle prizes for adults. Yeah. And like she's actually planned like 3 adult events, and one of them is yoga, outside yoga or something like that.
Yeah, one of them's yoga, one of them's like a coloring something. And I can't remember what.
I can't remember the other one either. But like one of her raffle prizes is like yoga classes, right? I
Yeah.
think.
We got a gift certificate.
Yeah. So I mean, good things. Good things. So you should read. You should enter. And then we do not have anything other than summer reading planned for June. We're just like kind of, it's time to stop, focus on moving, and just let summer happen. So you know.
Are you gonna need volunteers for the actual slugging of the books back and forth, or what?
Well, we're hiring a mover for doing that.
Right.
The mover that we used last time,
Huh.
they're the same ones.
They know where the books are then?
They know where the books are, and better than that, they have these amazing carts that hold a ton of books.
Shut up. I'm moving my entire 17,000 books by myself with my assistant.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, when do you need volunteers? I've
I
got a
don't know.
bunch
I'll
of
let you
people
guys
for
know. Yeah.
I had to bring it
I'm
up.
glad that you have a system.
Yeah, we all have a system, but seriously, you should like put out a call for like a Saturday volunteers or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys want to come up to Beaverton?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we could go have a beer afterwards.
That's true.
That would be
Do
really
they have beer in
fun.
Beaverton?
I think they might.
No, it's Budweiser.
So yeah, we have a plan for moving and money in the budget for moving. Yeah.
And a target date? Or is that in the building report coming later?
And we could move to that. Yeah,
I'll wait.
let's just finish this really quickly. So any questions about the library operations?
I was curious, with the books that are in storage, is the plan to just move the collection you have now at the Carnegie,
Yeah.
and then after that shift happens, then sort of a filling of the shelves based on
Here's the plan.
curating from
All
there?
the stuff that's in storage is relatively unorganized, and
Yeah.
it still needs to get organized. And so, since some of our collections that go into the addition need to come back to the Carnegie, you know, we'll have plenty of space, but they will be in the wrong place until we can do that, redistribute back in you know, at the end of September.
Okay.
So until the end of September, when we can move everything to the place where it really belongs, I'm not going to worry too much about storage books, and that will give us a little bit more time to like organize those things. And then we can bring stuff down as we get that organized. So until the Carnegie gets done, I'm really not going to emphasize like buying all kinds of stuff to fill the shelves, and you know, we're just gonna and seriously, if you talk to people, like let them know that this is an evolutionary process that we are intentionally taking our time on, because this transition phase, I know people are going to want to see like full shelves just brimming with all kinds of stuff, and it's like we're not there yet. And in the meantime, we're trying to like come up on the acquisitions module. We're trying to start a profile for the pre-processing. You know, we have like a new organizational structure with youth services librarian and adult services librarian. We need to figure out staffing for our future new desks that we have. So it's like, there's like so many things going on in the background that I just want to kind of keep things as simple as possible, especially until the end of September. Yeah, but great question.
I'm not sure if this fits in with that. How goes the district's unification on the RFI?
Oh, RFID?
Yeah.
Very good. You're impressive. So it's going pretty well. I think we're like, if we haven't already awarded the contract, we are super, super close to awarding the contract, and we'll be going with 3M Biblioteca. They're the company that just merged. And so that's probably a good thing that we are kind of going as slow as we are, because they've just merged, but they're the ones that have the closest relationship to our software, Cersei Dynex, because that's how these things happen, is like certain software aligns itself with certain other mechanical things, technology things. So we also have a subcommittee that hasn't even started meeting yet, but as soon as like Cersei or 3M Biblioteca has the contract, then the subcommittee will start meeting. We've taken it like away from the directors, just because we're directors, and they'll be able to make some good decisions. But so we probably won't have our RFID systems in place until 2017. And that's like a whole nother layer of complexity.
But
That
I mean, that's a separate issue.
it is a separate issue, and
But it's working
I so
conjunction.
wish the timing was different on that. I so wish the timing was different.
Right, but
you
that's so much bigger than just our building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm just curious as to where we are with that
Yeah,
process.
so it's moving forward. But, as we move into this bigger building, we want to add like more packs, the public access catalogs. We want to add more self-checks, but I don't want to buy more of the old kind of self-checks. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's this timing thing that is annoying.
Yeah.
And I'm also like, I didn't want people staff and patrons to have habits in the new building that wouldn't be consistent with RFID, the new system. It's just too bad. That's the way it's gonna go. So, yeah. But yes, it's moving forward. It's like a snail, but it's moving forward, and I'm hoping that it will pick up progress now. But good question. Yeah. So any other questions about library operations? And you reminded me of something that we were going to add to the agenda, which Don and I just want to update you on LDAC, and we can do that after the building stuff.
Yeah.
Any other? It's all going pretty well.
Right.
I mean, we're managing to still provide library services with a smile.
You guys are awesome.
Thanks.
Go ahead, let's move on to the building report.
Okay. So, as I mentioned, one of the big things that happened this last month, was we got our permanent power. So that, my goodness, people. Oh.
It's contagious, sorry.
We had kind of a window. There were, some back and forth with PG about when it was going to be. I don't think anybody ever has a construction project where, they show up on the date that you really want them to. But we had a window, and we knew that, well, on top of the librarians and not knowing about the power, we were going to have our big Star Wars event.
Well,
Right? And we absolutely had to have power for that, right? So I told the construction site manager, you're like, well, if the window is the 4th and the 5th, like, can you see if it can be on the 5th, And he's like, well, I'll do what I can. And then the Tuesday, the 3rd, we were having our meeting, and I came to my senses, and I said, oh my gosh, if they show up tomorrow, you do not send them away. Are you sure? And I'm like, I'm sure. Just whatever it takes, you get that permanent power in. So we didn't really expect them to the 5th, but they did show up on the 4th. But like I said, we were only out of power for the morning. And it turned out to be one of those really kind of happy coincidence is that we decided to run out and tell all the cars not to come in because it was last minute. You know, we're closed, don't unload your kids, there's no story time. And that was such a great opportunity to talk to people about, we have power, you know, or that's the reason. And so it was kind of turned into this little PR moment for us to be able to run out there and talk to people. It was great. It was more people than I've talked to in months. But so that was a big deal. We got the power, and that allowed the contractors to start putting together the elevator, which required a permanent power source before it could be put together. Yeah, and it was laying in big, huge, ginormous boxes in the center of the lobby, preventing other things from happening. So this is all like a carefully crafted, you know, choreographed dance. You know, one thing happens and the other thing happens, but if the one thing doesn't happen, the other thing cannot happen. So it's really, really, that part is super, super interesting, and thank God I'm not in charge of that. And actually at the logistics training, that's kind of what that was like, and I told Dave that he's my logistics man in the emergency because he is so good at this. But so that happened, and that was a really big deal. I told you about the curbs and the sidewalks. They started at the corner of Jefferson and 7th, and they're kind of wrapping around the building. They have run into some elevation discrepancies, you know, up on Jefferson. That will be resolved, but you know, sometimes something happens that you kind of go, okay, that's not as it's drawn, we have to go back to the engineer. So every time I hear that, I'm like, money, money, money. But we want to control those things, you know. But if something's not right, you have to go back to the engineer. That's all there is to it. And then we've run also into some tree roots for living trees on the corner. That nice tree on the corner of 6th and John Adams. So that's kind of halted business too. But we'll get those figured out, and then, like I said, we'll come around and do the front on John Adams as well. All the furniture and shelving has been ordered. The signage is, like, I just finalized that with Haley today or pretty soon. We're in that phase of just like the very nitpicky little, like, do you want these numbers to be on the thing by your office? And I'm like, yeah, I could care less what the number was by my office, you know, that kind of thing. And, you know, a bunch of scaffolding has been removed since last month, so you can really see the building much better now. And it's really taking shape. We're getting lots and lots of positive comments because now people can really see the building.
Yeah.
So, and there's paint up in a lot of places on the inside.
Yeah.
And it's really looking good. It's really, really taking shape. So we're pretty excited. Pretty excited. Our builder man left. But what questions can I answer for you guys?
So your tentative move-in date?
Yeah, back to that. Great, thanks for reminding me. So we're still tentatively on for July 7th. What we plan on doing is closing on July 4th, which
Is that
is
sooner than scheduled?
No.
Okay.
July 4th is a Monday, and we would just stay closed. So Tuesday and Wednesday, we'd be like kind of packing up stuff that we really cannot pack, like computers and stuff, when we're open to the public. And so, and then on Thursday, July 7th, then hopefully we would have the movers in and just start moving. And, you know, all the shelves would be up and all the furniture would be installed by then on that side. And
So the library would be closed like that week?
at least that week,
Right.
at least that week. Yeah, so we're starting to have conversations with, you know, network and, you know, how do we do this and where do we send people and how do we try to minimize our impact on other libraries while still serving our patrons. So there will be like a date, like in June, oh my God, we have to figure this out, where people will say you can't, somehow, like you can't place a hold, because if it comes in during that time, then it would be, you know, wrong. So we're working with network to figure that stuff out. So hopefully we would be closed no longer than a 2-week period. So like the 4th to the 18th, like that would be 2 weeks. And I don't see, we should be able to do that just fine.
Is, if I remember right, our system as it stands for holds has an option for suspend, where it keeps it in your list but doesn't
Right.
activate it.
Right.
Is there something that we can do on your end? If
Well,
some
yeah,
people
that's
come
what
in,
we need to
just do a
find out.
Blanket suspend for.
Yeah, that's what we need to find out for all the people who have said that Oregon City is their pickup location.
Right, just at the end of every day, somebody at network goes, okay, Oregon City holds, boom.
Yeah, there will be a system-wide solution, but then, we need to talk to people about it
Right.
too and figure out
Let
exactly
them be
what.
aware that nothing's
Yeah.
gonna come into this place for this week.
Yeah,
or
we
may have
so
to.
don't come here.
Right,
Yeah, but then like books due during that time, for instance.
Right.
You know, do we want everybody, what do we want? If we have to make some decisions on that. So, and for the life of me, I can't remember what we did. What was that, 5 years ago, 6 years ago? That was a long time ago.
6 years ago this
I
year.
know. I cannot remember those details, but we'll figure it out. I know we impacted Westland quite a bit, and we want to minimize that if possible. So, and then in September, I think it will take less time, I would say a week at the most, to redistribute. You know, because some sections, like the children's section, that's not going to change. That's the way it's going to be. But the community room where the staff is going to be, you know, so then it'll change into a room with chairs or tables. Yeah. So, and yes, Mr. Wright.
Is the event a newsworthy event? Should we be tipping off the TV cameras and all that stuff? You know, it's kind of momentous, I think.
Yeah, I don't want the news cameras there
Okay.
particularly, but
Just
I
thought
mean,
I'd
the
bring it
story
up.
would be great. But yeah, it's a good idea. Let me figure out some of these other details though, because that would be a great way to like tell the public about what to expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. That's a great idea,
You had a
actually.
good idea.
Yeah. All right, gold star. What else can we tell them about the building, DA?
Oh, my biggest concern has been budget the last couple of weeks, and we are thinking that we have this big budget review intended for next Tuesday, but we truly believe that that things are still manageable and that the budget has not yet been busted, and so we're getting pretty close. We're trying to nail down all those little uh-ohs that were out there and make sure we have all the costs assigned to those so that they're no longer any kind of surprise. But we want to be ready to step into the Carnegie, which is going to be full of surprises when we start to work on that.
Yeah.
So right now is the moment where we really want to be sure of our footing, and we think we are, just kind of based on our discussions today. So we think we're just right there. So,
Good,
yeah.
good.
Very cool.
So that's good news for everyone.
It's great news.
And then is the remodel of the Carnegie's like is that to take it down to the studs or what's the?
No.
No, we're
I just haven't been tracking that.
There was a round of seismic work that was done in 2000. Unfortunately, not as much as was reported. We've discovered but we're not really geared up to turn the Carnegie into a fully seismic building, because you would have to tear everything off and down to the studs, and that is a monumental project, and we don't have that kind of budget for. But we've got a lot of improvements that are being done. The back wall of the Carnegie did receive a complete seismic upgrade, so that it blends into the atrium. All of that is fully upgraded, so it leaves 3 walls that don't have maximum seismic upgrades, but floors are tied in, ceilings are tied in. There's a lot, and then we're going to be doing simple things like getting in some insulation in the walls when there isn't any, and that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a lot of things that are important to do. And if we have a little extra money, there'll be a lot of things identified, I'm sure, in the process that we'll say, gee, we really should do that. Yeah, we'll commit to that. But right now, it's not, you have to remember that seismic upgrades are on a scale of 1 to 5. And there are 5 levels of seismic upgrades out there that you can do, all of which satisfy code requirements in different ways. And so I'm going to say we're going to be pretty close to a level 3 when we're done. So which is typically what you would expect. So without stripping it down straight to the studs, yeah.
But, you know, we'll be replacing like all the lights, which will change the look so tremendously in there. You know, it will be really nice. It will be nice. It will be a nice room to hang out in, I think. Yeah.
Fair enough.
The whole library will be nice to hang out in. Okay, any more about the building? Okay, so can we talk about LDAC real fast, Library District Advisory Committee?
Me?
Sure.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that I was attending the meetings, but I wasn't actually a member for a while, and now I'm a member, but now they're not having meetings. they're getting organized. That's okay. Yeah. The huge shoe in the soup is the Oak Grove Gladstone thing. Where are they going to site this library? And Gladstone says, well, we're just rebuilding the city hall, and that's where it's going to be, and come on down. And the Oak Grove people don't want that, so there's a mediator now that's working with the two groups.
Mediator was offered. Nobody knows if they actually took them up on
That's
that
kind of
offer.
where I was at. I was making an assumption that that sounded like a good idea, but maybe not.
It is a good idea. It's
But
a
they
great
are,
idea.
but they are quite adamant in their positions. So it's going to be an interesting series of sessions coming up. I think our next meeting is in June or something.
It is. It's
Yeah.
in June. So it used to be that. Well, there's like multiple problems. The ballot measure said one thing, and the IGA between the entities said another. So the ballot said that the LDAC board would be the independent citizen. The IGA said that it could be whoever the city decides to send.
That, yeah.
Which is why I was going all this time, because of course the library directors, no matter how knowledgeable, independent citizen is, they are not the library directors, and they're just not going to know as much about the library, right? So it makes sense to send the library director to this. The problem with having a library director be on this board is that if there is a problem with how the city is expending the money, it's very, very difficult for a library director who is, employed by that city to then say something. So of course it makes perfect sense to have an independent citizen, as long as the independent citizen really understands all that's going on, and it's complicated. So that was issue number one. So we've got the independent citizen board now all set up. The library directors are like back in the South 40 feeling like third-class citizens. That's me, because I choose to interpret it this way. I'm sorry. And we're now maybe going to be like a technical advisor, although we're nowhere near our representative to actually give them technical advice. So don't know how that's going to work.
Boy, that's the truth.
Yeah, don't know how that's going to work. So, but at least that one thing has been taken care of. Then the other issues that have been raised over time is expending district funds on capital, which Oregon City said the way the IGA was written was ambiguous enough that we're comfortable with that. Well, what I learned recently is that when this all came about, there was another library district. I mean, I knew that. It was in Estacada, right? And you cannot have two library districts doing the same thing. So the Estacada Library District was about capital. It was specifically created to build their library, which is beautiful, by the way, gorgeous. So this one, when it was created, it was distinguished from that one by being for operations. So, and the rate of 39 cents per thousand is low enough that it really cannot support capital and operations. It really barely can support operations. Secondly, it was never meant to completely take the place of city contributions. It was not meant to replace, it was meant to add to.
Supplement.
But some cities have interpreted it that way and no longer give their library any money whatsoever, and in fact charge the library allocated costs, which then kind of look like they're making money off of the library district. Now, they may charge their other departments allocated costs as well, but typically what happens is they actually pay for those allocated costs to the other departments out of general funds. But since we have this separate bucket of money, you know, and cities are going to do this because that helps their general fund. I mean, you can't really blame them in some respects. It's a technique that just happens. So those two issues, expending on capital, people don't really have an issue with it, except that the IGA is written wrong. It says operations pretty clearly in a few places, even though we decided to like not be bothered with that. So, but the allocated funds is another issue. Well, so when Oak Lodge really caught the Board of County Commissioners' attention because of this issue with the Gladstone Library and basically having absolutely no representation, even though they are 70% of that little service area, and they're getting no representation. The county commissioners decided we kind of need to step in and see what's going on with this. So kind of all this stuff happened at the same time. And I think that they're going to make an effort to rewrite the IGA, amend the IGA, and make the capital part like be okay with everybody, you know, if enough city managers agree, and that's who typically signs off on these things. The allocated cost, I have no idea, but setting those two things aside, they have given Gladstone like 90 days to actually create a committee and work on a plan with Oak Lodge about the future of the library. And they have threatened Gladstone that if you do not do this, we are suspending you from the consortium. So that is what's going to be really interesting to see. So this is very complicated. There's a lot of politics, and not all library directors agree on all the issues at all. You know, we just want to provide library services for our people, you know, and we can't provide services without buildings. I mean, that's the other thing. And if we can't get them from our city, we've got to do something, you know. So it's a rat's nest.
Mo's not the only one that feels like way back in the back 40 when these things are being shoveled around the. I'm sitting there on the citizen thing, and she's my expert back there, and I can't talk to her. And people are looking at me and saying, "Well, what are you going to blah, blah, blah?"
Yeah.
I don't know.
And Dawn, I really think that you might need to say something about that at a meeting.
Yeah.
Because the chair is a fabulous, fabulous man, but he is adamant that he doesn't want library directors at the table. And
Right.
I understand to some degree why, but there is no way we can advise you if we are not.
Yeah, well, I might bring in Robert's Rules of Order there, where I can adjourn, sign, and die in order to get some information and then to come back to the meeting or something like that, because I don't have the answers in my head. If you want an answer, I'll just have to go get it and then come back. Because
That would be a way to do it too.
that's one way. to do it.
Anyway, this is what this man has signed up for.
Yep.
You're a
Thank
saint,
you.
Saint
Thank
Dawn,
you.
that's what we
Thank
call you.
Dawn.
I pick up trash too. So.
Awesome. You're twice sainted. Add that to your star.
So it's
crown.
not clear what happens to the funds that are dedicated to that district or to that area if they hold them.
if they suspend
So if they suspend
Gladstone.
Gladstone.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, this will be all new territory. I'm sure there's something about it in the IGA.
Yeah.
Lovely.
But we now have Don Krupp, the county manager, attending. We have Chris Story, the county attorney, attending. Last meeting, we had Paul Savas, one of the commissioners, attending. It's really fun.
Oh, yeah.
This is definitely my least favorite meeting in my life.
I sense sarcasm.
No, that's true. Least favorite. But yeah. So anyway, any questions about that? All right, no more
Thank
stories.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I'd rather build buildings than this.
Communication.
Communications?
Yeah, you're coming up to talk? Great.
Dum, dum, dum.
Linda Van Haverbeek for the Oregon City Library Foundation. DA said he didn't see the minutes, so we'll mostly just talked about the event on Saturday. So, and we're getting ready. We're excited. I'm excited. I'm overwhelmed. I'm excited. I'm overwhelmed. And we're looking forward to it.
Jan Salisbury with the Friends of the Library, and we are now back at the Farmers Market every Saturday of good weather from 9 to 2, so find us there as well as the used bookstore across the street. The other thing we did is we looked at our bylaws, and they're pretty generic in supporting the library, which is what we are. But in the last few years, as you are aware, the bookstore has really grown, and it seems like a more permanent fixture. And we felt very strongly that our purpose and our bylaws need to have room for that as to why we have it. You know, besides the initial thing was just a fundraiser, and so it's more than that. So this is what we are looking at adding to our purpose: to provide a resource for the redistribution of used books and media, which includes a venue for the library to remove excess materials. So that opens the door for a lot of different things. So I feel much more comfortable. I do the 990 and have to explain why most of our revenue comes through the bookstore, and this will clarify that and not make it a question in the future.
Very good.
FYI.
Thank you.
In the foundations at the farmers market, we won't be this week, but probably the rest of the summer too. So I went last week. Oh my, what an opportunity.
Very cool.
Any questions for us or anything? Okay.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
support.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work.
Any other communications? Future agenda.
Policy, policy, policy.
All right. Warning ahead of time. Next meeting.
That's right.
Next meeting is June 8th. That is my 25th anniversary.
Congrats.
birthday.
Yeah. It's also my youngest's promotion, 8th grade promotion. So he's moving up into high school. So either we're going to have a shorter meeting, a fast meeting like this one, or you will be without your chair. Yeah. So.
Who's our vice chair?
Eileen.
You?
No, Eileen.
Okay. And I think Eileen will be here next month, so Dan, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just giving you a heads up.
Yeah,
Mhm.
no, that's fine.
Yeah. Just don't vote me into something that
No.
like the last time.
We wouldn't do that.
Scared.
The last time I didn't attend a meeting, I ended up in this chair.
Yeah, and look how well you did. You're a natural. Come on. Well, congratulations on your 25.
Thank you.
And your youngest.
Thank you.
That's always good.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Great.
All right. If that's everything, we'll see you all next month. And we'll adjourn at 5:40.